Hey guys, welcome to the Madhu Chaudhary podcast. Today we have a very unique guest with us, Joe Alvares. He is a jazz singer, lyricist, composer, all in one, internationally famed. But the speciality is he's spiritually awakened, and now he will take us to his spiritual journey and help us get enlightened. Namaskar, sir.
Namaskar.
Welcome to the Madhu Chaudhary podcast.
Thank you.
How are you
I'm
feeling
honored.
today? Thank you.
I'm feeling very good. I am on top of my game. I swam for 1 hour from 8 to 9 in cold water and had a big bowl of fruits. And I'm charged to enjoy God's one more day in my life.
That's great. So, what is jazz all about?
Oof. So, jazz is the greatest export from the US. It's a certain form of music that was started from the black man when they were slaves in the fields under slavery. They had no form of expression except to sing in the fields while picking cotton. And so jazz started with American slaves singing in the fields. Then they started singing in their private churches. And then they added instrumentation to it like piano or bass, upright acoustic bass. Still, it evolved singing in the churches on a Sunday when they were not working. And that movement of prayer singing to their God in thankfulness or in prayer to get out of slavery or to express sadness, joy, pain, all that. So vocal birth jazz had. But it evolved from church singing, adding instruments. New Orleans became the hub of the band scene, where instruments came in and they started playing in small clubs. And so self-expression is very akin to classical music, where a certain piece of music is established, but then beyond the established path, the individual can take flights of creativity out of the realm of the written part. So jazz is about improvisation. Modern jazz is about expression, improvisation, going off from the main thing. That's like classical. So virtuosity of a musician is discovered only when he does a solo. Everybody can play the melody. Because that you can do like a parrot. You learn the music, you learn the melody. But when you are told to improvise or do a solo, then your quality is tested. And how virtuous you are with your instrument or your voice is known only when you take those flights of creativity out of the main. And then you come back to the song.
Right.
So it's a music that began principally had piano, bass, guitar, acoustic upright bass and drums. These are the three components of jazz. And of course, then came the horn players, Louis Armstrong, trumpet, Miles Davis, and thousands. So it evolved from 1930s.
Okay.
That's the birth. 1930s, it evolved New Orleans. From New Orleans, people started to go to New York because New York was the central place, central business district of the US, financial center. So all the musicians that wanted to make money and wanted to cut their teeth in establishing themselves as great musicians started going off to New York. So New York became the temple of jazz for at least from the 1960s till now. So if a musician can please a New York audience, that means you're world class. So jazz had its evolution in the 30s, musically with instruments, and from New Orleans went from the big band or the small band sound to now trios, quartets, maybe just one man with a guitar. Now it has also enveloped fusion. A lot of the top musicians of the world, they fuse because there is a saturation in creativity. You always have to recreate. With Indian music, it's the same thing. Zakir is playing with so many jazz musicians in the West. A lot of the people I know are playing with Western musicians. A lot of the jazz musicians have come here. John McLaughlin, a great guitar player, has come to Chennai and started learning Carnatic music. So jazz is a field that is like an ocean in which all things you can put and they get mixed, and it's still that ocean. It does not get diluted. It can engulf any form. So now it's America's greatest export, cultural export, because it started with the black man. Predominantly, most of the top jazz musicians are black. And of course, there are lots of white greats also, but began with the black man because it came from pain and subjugation and slavery. So those elements were there.
So both African and American elements are there.
African American story. The African slaves took the jazz rhythms from Africa, but that was 300 years ago. And the rhythms became part of the singing in the US under slavery, and that became part of their prayer life and their singing to God for freedom and for whatever. And then brought in the instruments, the Western instruments, Western music. The conservatoires are at least around 1600 years old. So vocal singing started in churches with monks. Then the piano was developed in the 15th, 16th century, violins, horns. So all the European music mixed with the American music in time, and that became what you hear today in big bands or small bands, Western melodies, black melodies. There has been a fusion of European music, which is white man music, and the black man music. And now contemporary jazz is all about that. But beyond that fusion, now they are fusing with India, with Morocco, with any other local.
So I was coming to that, sir. You being an international artist, and every artist have his or her own style. And so, what style you have added to this music, and what Indianness you share with the other people across the world?
Yeah, so in terms of my music, it's purely Western. My compositions are purely Western because I am part of what you call an incultured species in this country, where a lot of us studied. I studied in Missouri under Irish Christian brothers, and grew up with a Western state of mind, only spoke English, only listened to English music. So there are millions like us who were part of this inculturation of Western education in our country. And so my music, my compositions, all that came from the English world. The impact that we college students got was Woodstock, a mind-changing event that happened in the world in the 70s, early 70s. Woodstock was where the greatest of musicians, rock musicians, played on this farm, where 500,000 people gathered for a world event, where people let their hair down, they wore torn clothes, they did hashish, they did drugs, they did rock music, which is anti-establishment. They were against government and all that. So the kids wanted to liberate themselves from what they think was establishment and dogmatic control. Every generation looks to liberate itself, either in fashion or music or in art or in film. These are avenues of liberation. So we were hit by that, and we all became rock musicians. I had hair right up to my waist, and I was a rock singer at the age of 15. I was singing in the Taj Mahal Hotel in Bombay, in the premium nightclub called Blow Up, for at least 2 or 3 years. So I sang every night for 2, 3 years. So I paid my dues to the music by singing every night hardcore rock. And we got paid well. So as a 16-year-old kid, I was drawing a big salary. And then I started going to Kashmir with my salary and enjoying those free times in Kashmir with Babas and all the other things that come with Babagiri.
Okay.
And the beautiful valley of Kashmir. So I had a fascinating journey through saints, meeting yogis, meeting bluffers, meeting all kinds of characters. And I was always a seeker. No matter what I was doing on the planet, I was always a seeker of who am I. I was not satisfied with my name and this family and this music. I was wondering, what is this? Who am I? What am I doing here? Where should I go? Where have I to go? How do I get there? So these questions as a kid were happening, whereas in the earthly front I was doing this rock music and transiting through internal inquiring processes, not knowing where to get my answers. I was born a Christian, but I didn't get my answers from Christian dogmatic practice. I started looking at other pathways, and finally I discovered, after this tumultuous existence, I discovered the methodology of internal travel.
So, but what was really happening? Like, was there any emotional discomfort, or what was it? Was it kind of a depression?
No,
Okay.
no depression.
Okay.
I was a rock musician. I went through the, what you call, the travails of rock, where you have all the indulgences on the earth
Okay.
very early in life. And then it becomes a sapping affair. At 17, I was looking 70. That was the lifestyle. Lot of money, lot of women, lot of adulation, lot of everything. Too much of everything. And then the Krishna of my chariot was not in control. So I was running behind the lust, power, anger, hatred, envy, the vasanas. They had full control of this being. And being an inquiring soul that always wondered, kya ho raha hai? I went through these travails of inquiry, always inquiring myself, till I came to a point where I didn't like what was happening to me. So I was talking about this knowledge of self-improvement that I found from the treatise of Indian Vedic studies.
So, how long you did this reading thing? How long you did this reading thing?
Reading, I spent at least a good 10-15 years, but I never stopped reading.
Like you read the real Vedas.
I read the Vedas, I read the Bhagavad Gita many times, and different people's points of view.
The translations.
Yeah, the various things. And I also had a guru that took me through certain practices, how I'm doing them, catharsis, deep meditation, breathing, Kriya Yoga, a lot of paths that are established paths for inner realization. And at a particular point of time, you stop reading and you start doing. And once you start doing the practices, then you get the same energy from God as a yogi gets. Because your receiver, which we are receivers. If your receiver, like the radio signal, if your radio or your camera is working properly, you can take a good shot If your camera stops working, you take it out and you service it and you then use it. So we are also electric beings that have receiving capability of divine energy and flow. That's where the saints got their truths from.
And so what was the role of your guru in that?
My guru taught me how to pray.
From where did you find him?
That also comes by divine intention. I had a friend who knew of my questioning, and he said, Joe, I think this gentleman will be able to help you. And he took me to a hill where this old guru was staying. He was a PhD in economics for 80 years.
Okay.
Then he left his worldly life and was staying with his wife in the hills in Thane.
So is it necessary to go to the hills for doing that?
No, but he had gone to the hills. He was there. He was staying in isolation, and I went and visited him, and I found that the interaction between him and me, because I was a seeking soul, I would do anything that somebody gave me advice to do, and I found that there was improvement. So I used to go to him very regularly, and he taught me how to practice Maun. So he initiated me into silence. He initiated me into these other deep practices of how to chant. He initiated me into deep breathing. And I found that within 2 or 3 months of these practices, dynamic changes started happening within myself.
As in like what?
As in, like I told you, an example of transcendental knowledge started flowing, where what you read in books, in scriptures, comes directly to you. You don't need to read the book. Because there is an existential bank of knowledge in the cosmos that is existential, beyond time. Eternal truths are in an existential cosmic belt. The being that is the human, how clear his radio receiver is, that clear he gets those signals or that voice or those truths. You must know how to tune in to the cosmic mind.
So by the cosmic mind and by the voice, do you mean to say God?
I will not put definitions. I will put higher self.
Okay.
You are God when you know it. So the thing is, the process of know thyself, it's written in the Bhagavad Gita, know thyself. What's the meaning of that? So I started going deep into that questioning. Who am I? What am I doing here? Why have I come here? Where am I going? How do I get there? So the more you go into these spiritual practices, as a city boy, I was driving a Mercedes in college also. So I had everything. I had the best of everything. As a young guy, I was driving a Merc to college, a Ford Mustang, all that I had. But I also started praying. Truly praying, not going to temples or churches. I would pray in my room for 4 hours when nobody is looking at me, but only I am with my God. And I hear my voices. I could see demons. When we pray, the black force starts worrying about you. When you don't pray, they don't worry about you because they know you are there. But as soon as a man starts turning his life into dynamic spirituality, then the dark force that exists, there is white and black. The dark force that exists starts sending all kinds of temptations, all kinds of things, and sometimes they even manifest when you're in deep meditation. So I have, in deep meditation in my room, seen negative spirits, and I have willed them away with an authoritative voice during my prayer, you know. So all this is real, yeah. In this flesh and spirit, all this is real. We are fighting battles of a heavenly nature, between good and bad, between light and darkness.
But then why they say that there's nothing bad, it's just the way we perceive?
No. Who's the they? Common street knowledge is not the knowledge that should propel anybody's inquiry.
Okay.
The eternal questions of man are answered by introspective knowledge. Knowledge is something that you cannot read books and say, I know. Knowledge has to become sublime. Only when you put your foot in the fire do you know what a flame is. You cannot philosophize ki that is hot. You can do it up to a certain point, but you don't know the degree of intensity. So everything of knowledge has to become sublime and understood in sublimation, and then you are able to process, see, do, choose. So within the limited lifetime of 70, 80, 90 years that we humans are given, the quicker we start running on the inner road of self-inquiry, the knowledge of which is only available in India. That's the story of my life. That is the story I'd like to share, that no other pathway of philosophy can tell you how to internalize and know thyself. Because ultimately, all mankind has to know themselves and their divine reason of birth. So the scientific methodology is only taught in India. As I say, Jesus Christ, He came in the flesh. In the flesh, you are subjected to all the travails of the flesh. So here to seek knowledge. There was a tribe in the Dead Sea called the Sons of Light, the Essenes. They were living off Jerusalem in the Dead Sea caves. He used to go to that tribe. That tribe had a certain discipline of ethics, how they lived. They had codes of ethics. That tribe is very akin to Buddhism because Buddha came 600 years before Christ. And his monks went all over the world, right and left, and taught these teachings. That Essene group is called the Sons of Light. They studied Buddhism, very close to the Buddhist practice. And Christ studied there. The Buddhist practices for self-discipline, for introspection. Buddha comes from India.
Yes.
Buddha has got his philosophy from the Vedic times. Plus this God direct knowledge which you get, everybody gets after they do these practices. You do Tratika for 3 months and God will start talking to you much clearer than you've ever seen before. Your third eye will open. I'm telling you, there's a third eye. When you look at the flame, for 2 months, I opened my third eye after 2 months of practice.
Really? Like how long you have to do that tratak?
20 minutes.
20 minutes. At what time of the day?
Before the earth wakes up.
Okay.
So you normally do it between 4:30 and 6.
Okay.
You get up, you sit in Siddhasan and put the candle at your same level of sitting flame. So you just look at the flame and try and concentrate without blinking.
Okay.
So during the first month of doing this exercise, you will hear all the external sounds of a crow making noise or something, or somebody getting up, somebody coughing, so all the earthly sounds. After about a month of practice, you will stop hearing because you start finding that you're going inside yourself. And then you start opening vision, because see, all your forces are coming to one point from inside and coming to an external point of concentration. So, you know those horses that Krishna rides on the chariot on the Bhagavad Gita, they first of all are all running like this. But through these practices, you can see inside your horses are being brought into a line. And the more powerful that practice gets, the more powerful you start understanding the vasanas. The more powerful your internal discipline comes with able to control the chariot of Maya. And it is one element, it's power, money, woman, anger, hatred, jealousy, envy, rage. There are 8 vasanas, major. So, self-discipline and these practices start purifying your inner vision. And you start recognizing this. So, you get discernment in your life. You know what is black, what is white, which path to choose, what not to do, who to associate with, whether the most beautiful woman in the world comes to you and offers herself to you, you will know whether to take or not. You will not just be taken up by the beauty of that, you know. So this Maun is much more powerful than Tratika.
Acha, like you have to keep mum.
Yeah, I used to keep quiet from 7 to 7 on the day of silence. 7 in the morning to 7 in the night, not a word. There what happens, first you do Tratik, so you get self-control. When you start doing Maun, you have to control, because if some 5 people come to start talking to you, you're going to automatically respond. But with self-control, you keep quiet. I used to write chits and reply. I used to go to my father's factory and sit down and tell the workers, आज मैं बात नहीं करने वाला है. आप लोगों को कुछ बोलना है तो ऊपर आके बोलो. I will write chits and reply. So I did Maun like this, and on the day of Maun, I used to not eat. When you don't eat, you keep your machinery at ease. Your energy that is converted starts going up your spine, and that's called Kundalini Shakti, you know. So it's all true, man.
Okay.
All these processes are true.
So actually, when I think, as you talked about introspecting, so if I'm to think about myself, so like if you give me 2 minutes, think about yourself, and it will be like so haphazard and confusing, and you know, not pleasing. So, and finding oneself or finding the purpose of life, as you said, so that might change the life drastically, even the goals I have set for myself.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
But it will give you more clarity.
As in the purpose of the life, as in like what work I have to do, or why have I taken birth, what it is, why have I taken birth, in terms of the work I do?
In terms of the being. The being is not the external work you do. The being is that inquiring self that always is musing, that is controlling. There is an over self that watches everything that goes on. You will get to the over self, where the over self guides you with firm knowledge. There's no distortion. So even if you have chosen a particular path to do, you have come to that flowering because the divine has allowed you. But I'm talking about the earthly dialogue of mind. Your mind will become as calm as an ocean. Once your mind is as calm as an ocean, then the sun can shine in your inner world. Otherwise, there's distortion. When the sun shines in your inner world, you are absolutely clear, physically and soulfully, spiritually, of your path, your doing, your relationships, whether money is important, whether spirituality is important, whether relationships are important, whether love is important, how to love, how to give, how to take, whether there are values. Your values will get sharpened as a human being. Your virtues, you'll become more virtuous than taker. You will give. Because through knowledge comes charity. Through the truth comes giving and not taking. I'll give you a small example. We are tubes. Even in the physical world, we are tubes. There is an inlet and an outlet. Energy comes in the body and is processed towards certain ends, where you have bodily energy, built blood, that energy is manifested in sight, hearing, speech, action. This is on the physical level. What you eat determines the health of this vehicle called the body. Your habits, smoking, drinking, eating, जो भी है, that determines the bodily state of being, health. Now, if you eat badly, you get, today's world, you see, thick arteries, And finally, because of your gluttony, eating the wrong things, and your gluttonous life, you suddenly get a heart attack, or you have to do a heart operation. Many of the kids are now getting heart attacks at 30 and 40 years. So this is on the physical level. On the spiritual level, we are tubes. I'm explaining again, where the grace of the divine is always blowing through your tube. Now, depending on the wisdom that this tube has, it knows how to utilize God's gifts. So first you have to seek wisdom, because His grace is flowing ever. You don't have to pray to Him. His grace is flowing continuously. It's how you process the tube, which is you, wisdom. If you have less wisdom, your cosmic tube will also close at one end because of indigestion and ill use of His gifts. Like this body gets wasted because of bad habits. The cosmic tube closes. If this tube closes at one end, and God's air is just every day coming through, there's going to be an explosion in the tube.
Right.
So these human practices of internalization help your tube and the wisdom factor of your life to become very sharp, and your tube remains clean. God's air processes through you eternally, through your physical being and your spiritual being. In the middle of this, you get the knowledge of your eternity. We are eternal souls. It's not the end of the story with this. The body goes to the elements. The spirit is indestructible. Matter and energy, as we know in the physical law also, it's indestructible. So energy only reconverts. So as you step into this internal path of inquiry, the best books to read for the kids who probably will listen, or to the humans that listen, are Autobiography of a Yogi, Vivekananda, Yogananda Paramahansa. Yogananda, he has my birthday. 5th of January, I have his birthday. Yogananda Paramahansa and Bhagavad Gita by anybody, Radhakrishnan or Swami Prabhupada, whoever's version. The Bhagavad.
Can you just tell us
two major
scraps
books.
of it, these two books, what you have experienced?
So Autobiography of a Yogi is the book that turned my life around into the fruits of deep practices. When I read this book, I found that a gentleman of the world in the 50s had achieved the state of mastery by pursuing this internalized practices through gurus, and he belongs to that whole tradition of Maha-Avatar Babaji, and then the whole line of descendants, Yukteswar Giri and several other masters, and finally it comes to, Yogananda Paramahansa. So in the book of Yogananda Paramahansa, you find he explains everything about these internal practices. He explains the fruits of that happened to him. Like I am talking, my discipline and my prayer life has led me to writing big books and doing historical works that this Joe rock singer would never even dream. I've written major books that have been acknowledged by now the biggest intellectuals in India. Vinay Shastrabudaya said, nobody has written like you on Thane. You have chronicled the city of India. I must respect this. And he launched my book. I wrote a book on Bhopal and all the sites, Sanchi, Bhimbedkar. I would never be able to do that if I was not fortified with the prayer life, with the discipline, with the clarity of mind and body. And everything is not about filling my pockets with money. It's about putting your stamp on the sand on which you come, and your footprint should remain. So you either become a consumer on the planet, or you become a giver. You can become a giver only with spiritual knowledge. And you can attain bearing. See, we are all trees that have to bear fruit. The best, tastiest fruit of your life will be only when you know thyself. Only when you practice these disciplines. Then you'll be able to produce more. You'll be able to give more. You'll be able to produce higher elements of creativity. Whether it's in your life, in what you're doing here. You know what I'm saying? Now that idea that I gave on the desk, it doesn't come just like that. It's a divine line because I'm in tune, man. I'm in tune with the cosmos. I told you the other day, you are living on ground floor.
Yes.
I am living on 100th floor. Every day you open the ground floor door, you see these things. And you say, that's life, chalta hai. 100th floor, I am calling you every day, come for tea, you don't come only. Suddenly after 50 years, you say, I'll go and have tea. You go up to his floor and from the same building, you are seeing another city, you are seeing lakes, you are seeing... This is consciousness, example of consciousness. And I'm afraid to say that we humans are so full of ourselves that we forgot nature. I'll give you one example that there is no religion in the world. In the Vedas, there are 96 million life forms. 96 million. Humans are only one of them. Okay? Now, if you look around you, nature tells you what it is. The birds of the air, the elements, the animals, the ants, whatever is created, beings, they're all beings. There is even vibration here. There's vibration here. Everything is fluctuating at different levels of vibratory life, you know. So a yogi can see this actually moving. Can see this, can see the stone. So life is full of vibration. In these life forms that you see, I'm giving you a simple example about this religion business. Man, which we are, is body and soul. What does the body depend on, without which it will just fall? Tell me. You guys tell me who are shooting. What is the actual... If you took out one thing, you'll just drop dead.
Soul, maybe?
No. Soul is a different story.
Okay.
Body क्या है? Body...
Gravity?
बॉडी किस पे चलता है? बॉडी का फ्यूल क्या है? जिस चीज को निकाल के मर जाएंगे ताबड़तोड़. I tell you, sunlight,
then there are many things.
rain, air,
Nature, yes.
fire, these elements. Does the sun rise every day and say, I will fall on a Hindu nation?
Not at all.
Does the rain say, हम खाली क्रिश्चियन के ऊपर गिरेगा? Does the fish in the sea say that only Sardars can eat me? Does the mango say that only Muslims can eat mangoes? When everything that you are living on is free, तो तेरे को कौन टोपी लगाया भाई? हाँ? You are living... 96 million life forms are living without this analysis, man. Who is feeding the billions of birds and animals and ants and this? Who? What? What is that intelligence? So there is no religion. ये सब hijack हो गया.
True.
This is logic. You live on air, fire, water, sun, and food. These do not come with topis of Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Jew. There are no topis on your own. उसको निकाल के you will die if you don't have food, if you don't have sun, if you don't. तो कहाँ से दूसरा factor आ गया?
But then, so meditation and all, is it not related to one's belief? Like when you are doing sadhana?
No. So, the seeker walks alone. If you want true knowledge, you do not start following the crowd.
Right.
Your knowledge is revealed only when you seek it alone. True knowledge. There is distortion, there is true knowledge. The true seeker, he walks alone. He gets his feed from the Creator direct. He does not belong to a community, but he comes to talk to everybody else about the joy he has found.
But like one realizes that he has attained that knowledge, that salvation. How come?
Yes.
Acha. So what is that point of realization when
There is
somebody can...
it's relative.
Okay.
Everything is relative. There are relative stages of evolution. Some become Siddha masters. Some are able to make the deaf hear, the blind see, they can raise the dead to life. That is Siddha power through this same meditation that is taught in India. When I started talking about Jesus Christ, I said he went to Essenes and learned the Buddhist, but he has also come to Nalanda. There are records of him coming to India. In Kashmir, there's a grave of Isa. In Ladakh, in the 2,000, 3,000 year old history, there is a written about Isa Masih coming to there and learning Buddhist tradition. In Nalanda, Shankaracharya's records have stories of Christ. So I'm just saying that on the earth, to achieve this superhuman seeming power, where people say you do miracles, it's all part of the attainment of the individual if he knows how to go to his own seed. We are all born with the Buddha seed or the Krishna seed. It depends on how you water the seed inside, and your relative blooming will happen like that, So it depends on how soon you start running inside yourself.
So what magical thing happened with you? Like when...
That, मेरा self destruction का path में मैं गया ना, मेरा captain जो था.
That happened before only. No, without seeking any...
No, that was a directionless Krishna in his chariot who was pulled by this and pulled by that. Rock music, dunyadari.
But that realization in itself is something heavenly.
Which one?
That when you realize that you should leave all this and go to
Yes, that's what I'm saying. But at that time I did not know it's heavenly. Now I can say that was God allowing me to get there to be able to inquire. If I had not inquired, now I would have been a drunkard. Now I would have been pot-bellied. Now I would have been slothful. But I have led a yogic life from the age of 20 to 70. 50 years I've been like an arrow. Why? Through the discipline of prayer, through this life I found. My children are married in beautiful homes without me doing anything, My daughter is married in the royal family here. The other daughter is married to an ambassador's son, and they are leading great lives. Who does this, man? I am not worthy of anything. It's like you submit to the Godhead, you understand, and tera thali hamesha full rahega.
That must be inculcated from the very childhood and in the education system.
Yeah, so that you don't have to get a jhatka and then start thinking about God.
Right, yes.
Otherwise there is karma, there is as you sow, so you reap. Karmic circle is there. Abhi, you leave the earth in this body state with thoughts. Your final thoughts will determine your next life. Do you know that?
While I'm dying, the thing
Yes. So, the thing is that अभी से ही वो thoughts को, वो mind को control करना, aspirations को purify करो, ताकि तुम्हारा जो departure है, वो दूसरे top higher grade पे जाएंगे, depending on your karmic record here. So, aspiring towards the Godhead is the duty of every soul, and every soul automatically aspires. But there are accelerated processes also. Your normal flowering, it's said, without thinking, is 1 million lifetimes. This, somebody is born on earth, चलता ही रहता है, education, काम, ये वो, without thinking about this internalize and doing 1 million lifetimes, then you will see the light. But in one lifetime, you can reach God through dynamic practice. And that's Kriya Yoga, understanding.
the way you got that voice, no? I'm getting your voice
Arre,
now, and I'll follow the
I am
same
telling you,
from
man,
today.
it's a very powerful thing. We are
Very
blessed to
well.
be born in India, bhai.
Because a lady is so confused like me about everything, I think.
नहीं, but
I
understand,
really need to-
एक divine reason होता है जहाँ आपने birth लिया, which family you have, what time you have been given that birth. If you start thinking those things and start knowing how to get inside through these processes, you will realize that India is the gate into eternity for the spiritual seeker. Because the knowledge of that is only in this country, it's not in the West. West is corrupt, boss. They have no morality. They have no family life. They have no values. They are chasing wealth. This world's problem is existing because of oil. Everybody wants oil. All the wars are because of assets of earth.
Right.
So this is not spiritualism, man. But India has remained 9,000 years uninterfered with because of the actual spiritual content of this country. Not what we see in the newspapers, but what is happening in the Himalayas. There are millions of saints who pray whole day and night. They come down sometimes to the valley and you see some of them. So we can become that in the city. Have your education. Do the birds in the air again. Go to the birds. Do they go to university to know how to fly? Or how to make babies or how to feed their children? There's no university for the rest of mankind here. What's the university that they know? That is life. Does the mango tree have to go to some school? How to bear fruit? No. The fruits come naturally, the earth gives food naturally, the birds fly naturally, the animals are fed. They have a natural. There is no university, Bankasgiri of banks and universities and jobs. They're just living.
So how, will it hinder the productivity of people if
It will
everybody
make
is
them
more productive?
more purely productive.
Okay.
If your countries were were ruled by spiritio technocrats who are spiritually clean with knowledge and technology, earth will be forever.
Right.
See, the best of technology is leading to the extinction of mankind with one madman who can press a button. Albert Einstein, when he discovered these things, and Oppenheimer, when he discovered the atomic bomb, didn't think that it would come to this disastrous point where koi yeda ek press. Abhi Putin is already saying कि if the NATO forces join thing, I will hit the nuclear button. If the West comes into fighting in my front line. Nobody thought that technology would become that, but the US used it and bombed Japan, killed 700,000 people. You know what I'm saying? So, everything that man has done has led to the point where the extinction of man is possible. But if they were spiritually endowed,
Right.
they wouldn't do this, man.
They wouldn't do it.
They wouldn't do this, you know. Earth, man is animal, Pashu. And it is from Pashu that you become a God avatar through this process of internalization. We are all animals at different levels of elevation. You know,
Right.
we belong to earth, we are animals, man. There is animal instinct in the human. But refinement only the human can do through these processes. The poor tiger does not know this. Neither does the lion. He is living by his own natural. But God created, this is the seventh door. The human is given the seventh door. This is the last door for self-realization.
Right.
You have gone through, you were a stone. You were part of water. You were part of the air. You were part of a fish. You were part of a tree. You were part of, you, me, all these energies have evolved from different life forms and come finally now into this body. अभी यहाँ रियलाइज नहीं होएगा तो कभी होएगा भाई. So start running inside in the inner world soon, because this is a universe by itself. Do you know that in our body every molecule bears the history of creation?
History of creation.
Yes, every molecule bears the history of. We are part of the eternal fabric of energy, man. This is a manifestation. Yes, it's a lot.
With the kids also, we can, make them learn this. 5, 6
Kids,
years old.
I'm telling you, kids before they start learning human knowledge are where you have to actually be. So I got grandchildren, right? Before they started going to school, they were those angels that we need to be that. But
They're getting corrupted
you
by
give
us.
human knowledge, yeah, man. You give human knowledge, kab gaya. Up to 3, up to no school, they are like the birds of the air. They laugh, they cry, they play, they love. You are making them shanad, you are corrupting. Human knowledge corrupts, boss. It's just observe in your own house. If you have, I have my grandchildren. I see.
My own son, 6-year-old.
Yeah. I have my grandchildren where I see ki if you want to know what heaven is, you be with this child. Because they are natural. And they came with the purity of God. They are already high yogis. अभी तुमने सुमड़ी में corrupt कर दिया. तेरे university, तेरे knowledge, ABC, mathematics, technology, science, earth को खाओ. You know, kill the earth, man, and put it in your pocket. You know, we would have been flying, boss. We would have been able to fly. We would have been light beings flying if we were in the spirit. You can go in Yogananda Paramahansa's book. His guru has appeared in 2 places at one time now. In Calcutta, he's talking to somebody, and in Bombay, he has met in the 1950s.
My God.
Documented evidence of what is possible with a body. Then he used to sleep in a room and tell his disciples, 5-6 दिन हमारा बॉडी को देखो बाहर से, अंदर मत आओ, मैं जा रहा हूँ. बॉडी उधर है और ये निकल गया into astral worlds. We can travel. I have traveled.
Really?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
And how was the experience like?
Mind blowing. I have gone out of my body twice.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It's a very powerful experience. I have gone into a dream state and have controlled the dream. That means, now, I'll give you an example. I have dreamt of being a big white albatross in my dream, flying, and I know that the dream is going to now end.
Okay.
But in the dream, I am able to consciously extend the dream.
Oh my God.
So meditation gives you this kind of, and then things become very clear. See, it's mind blowing, boss.
I too want to experience this, and I'm gonna start this
with Tratika,
right
man.
from today.
Tratika, you
Seriously.
start with Tratika.
And I'm really amazed to opposite kind of personalities you have. You're a rock star, and on the other hand, you're so spiritual.
You need to be the star of the inside. The rock star is all part of the earth story.
So you have enlightened us today, and thank you so much.
It's my pleasure to have been able to share a
this.
little bit of this thing. It's an eternal project. You have never arrived. You are always walking higher. You cannot say, I know everything. You know nothing. Knowledge, the inner knowledge teaches you to say, I know that I do not know. And then the doing. When you do the spiritual path, your earthly activities become very sharp. Nobody can mess with you, man. Nobody.
I will
That's why I say your convictions become one-pointed. Earthly convictions. I had a meeting some. This is off or on?
On.
Huh?
On.
Okay, I had a meeting with very high people some time ago, and I had to get some acceptance from them on certain projects. And most others who came with me had to kind of bend and say, hello, Lord, and this and that. We need this business and this. But unfortunately, I was not like that. I was very clear of what I can do, what I can bring to the table. And I told at that meeting, I don't care about your power, you guys who are listening to me. But if you know what I can give you, then you will sign that document with me. And they signed with me. Not with those who bent their heads.
So that is the power.
That's the power of your own conviction. When you know what you can do, you become sharper, you become more confident about your earthly things. Nobody can mess with you because you're powered by your inner walk. Because you know where you're going. You're going to the light. You're powered by that inner walk, that inner Shakti. This flesh is one piece of clothing. But what are you within, man? You know? Are you a lamb or a lion? You know?
True.
So your prayer life takes you into that great world. And then you leave the rest to the Creator.
Seriously, sir, from today I'm gonna start this, and I will, try connecting with you every week, and I'll tell you what improvement I am going through.
I'll guide you, man.
Yes, sir. Please, because sure. I also want to chase that nirvana.
Hari Om. Levels to ho jayega. You will come from ground floor to 100th floor, for sure. For sure. And the sites will be different. एक दो practice करो, तुम देखो, you know, you will see, it will completely change. दे डाल, अभी learn charity. Give. Not necessarily money, but give. Start learning to give, because when you give, you have created space for you to get.
Yes.
From God's love.
Yes.
If you, that's what I said, na, that tube, uska energy continuous रहता है. वो he is not bothered about your prayer, यार. उसका तो है चालू.
Ever flowing.
तू तेरा pocket full किया और he is trying to give you more, लेकिन pocket तो भरा तुम्हारा. You give, take out from this pocket and give him, again your pocket will be full. Otherwise you'll be getting some gadbad in that same pocket with the things that you try to hold. So the secret of a higher life is charity, fasting, silence. All the spiritual heads do this. These are the most powerful practices that open up what they call the 1,000-petal lotus at the back of your spine. And it takes lifetimes to open one petal. Discipline, you know. There is a Shakti in the spine, which is a liquid that is created by the body energies. Spiritual life starts pushing that liquid up the spine to hit the base of a 1,000-petal lotus, at which time enlightenment starts happening. So the whole process of this life is to do those spiritual practices that's Kundalini Shakti. And Kriya Yoga teaches you how to get there. Deep breathing, dynamic, these kind of things. Deep breathing, powerful breathing, you know. Mala, jap, be silent in a room, really pray. You don't have to go to a temple because God is everywhere. Temples and churches are all part of man's control factor. The priests control the masses. They don't want the masses to know God, because once you know God, you won't go to the priest, boss. Do you understand?
Yes.
Because He is there for everybody. He has not ordained कि भाई, these are your leaders, you follow them. No, man. You are your own leader. But if you don't want to lead yourself, then you are subjugated to some other. So this is the problem with earth. So the truth came from one man, he gave it to the neighbor. The neighbor gave it to the third guy. Third guy gave it to the fourth. वो Chinese whispers का जैसे वो truth got distorted. By the end of the 10th guy, it became a new truth only.
New truth. Yeah.
You know? And then finally, these are all institutions. You can see what's going on earth. All the temples and the churches are institutions that are power centers.
Commercialized.
Commercialized. Your actual truth will come only when you sit in your own home in silence of yourself. You will know God only then. You will not know Him on the going and practicing all this mass nonsense, you know. What do you think? He's waiting for you to come to Him? No. The very fact that you're alive is with you, boss.
Right.
You know. So there's no need for drama with the Creator. But there's need for serious introspection. So you'll know Him better. Then Yogananda's Param Guru, Maha Baba Avatar Babaji, he appears. He's 3,000 years old, 2,500 years old. To his bhakts, he appears in a shaft of light. He is known to have appeared to several people. He has a sister who's 2,000 years old. She also appears if you worship. And if you're desperate, they have appeared to people. I mean, this is all going on. This is not some very funny talk. I have seen in the Himalayas myself, gurus and various kind of masters, man, who they are able to do a lot of things, man. I've seen that.
I also want to see now.
I saw one yogi in Nepal. He drank 20 bottles of Black Label and smiled at me. कुछ नहीं हुआ. They are so high and so gone that कुछ नहीं होता है earth का stories में, you know. And they can fly, they can go out of body. It's not them, even we can do that, na, if we pursue things. But not necessarily that we pursue for flying out of body or for do, but when we pursue, then He will treat you the way that He divinely ordained for your life. So, we are born by God's will. There's no question about that. If you align your wishes with His wishes, then your tree will bear perfect fruit. Otherwise, your fruit will be half-baked.
So that ultimately means that what we want, that is not happening. That means it is God.
That is not His will. Yes, 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 100%.
Because I have realized this many a time when I
100%.
want that this thing to happen and that is not happening.
Yeah, when it's powered by your own non-divine will and it doesn't happen, that means the Creator knows what's better for you.
Better.
In fact, when it doesn't happen, you may get something else,
Yes, eventually
which is of a much higher gift. So you must, that's what I said, na, learn to do charity.
Yeah.
You keep giving, He will keep giving you what you need. You know, it's very simple, man. You know, but the commercialization of earth and its assets and its things have become so wicked that truth is kept aside, you know. Nobody wants the truth because they're all busy filling their pockets
Yeah.
and their bank balances. They only look after themselves. There's really no, you know. So the individual has to change himself. You can't change anybody else. And the pursuing of that himself path is introspection. That knowledge is only available in India.
In India.
These books will take you there.
Yes.
Hari Om.
So thank you for
Thank you.
joining us.